Good, yeah. Everything's good.
Good, yeah.
Good progress on the new
Okay.
stuff we're launching. We had a series of good news in the last couple
I don't know if you can.
Yeah, I mean, the first test units, and we were
anxiety. I know,
well, we were just able to test for the first time. So one of the massive improvements is what is on the Wi-Fi, and we're getting to I think on in good conditions with line of sight, we're getting to 250 feet.
Oh,
so it's quite.
You're talking feet. I'm thinking meters.
70 meters.
It should be the opposite.
70 meters. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so that's massive for us.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so not that it's needed in most cases, but it's helpful.
Yeah, I can
It's
imagine.
helpful.
I mean, you think about these auditoriums, the live events. And
Correct. You
things.
just want to be up. You leave it on stage.
Yeah.
You just go
Yeah,
on
That's
stage.
great.
And so that's one which is really good news. And so a series of other really good news there. And then.
Well, I don't want you to repeat yourself too, because Mike's probably gonna want to hear this, and I know that.
Sure.
Then Mike's heard what we're doing, so before everybody else comes, why don't I just tell you what we're doing?
Sure.
To resolve that. I mean, because I know that there's always, any of these kind of M&A kind of things, it's always like, you're walking on eggshells in some ways. So I just want to give you full open kimono of what we're building.
Awesome. Yeah.
You guys can ask any questions around what it is that we're doing.
Cool. That's awesome.
So that you have that trust of, because frankly, I don't see us as competitors, more partners in the live scenario.
Yeah.
So I can just show you. I've never. Well, let me just try to present. I don't even know how I can over there. I don't know if maybe I'll just come over with my laptop.
Yeah, sure.
I'll just show you our. I was trying to pull up actually a live build of our one of our branches about like how actual live looks, how we build.
Oh,
it.
you were already that far. That's cool.
Well, no,
Okay.
I mean like.
It's exciting.
We're using WoWs in the cloud, and
Yeah.
so that's the part that is the hard part, right?
Yeah.
But
Are you
user
doing
flow is pretty
like
easy.
JW Player? Yeah.
No, it's not a player. I mean, with the,
No. They also
sorry,
using.
so this is just the Envision design. So the whole kind of heuristics that we've created for live is essentially like we're just taking what we do with Vimeo and applying that to live. Like all the concepts, right? Vimeo as a whole, what we do is transcoding to publishing.
Yeah.
Really. And also there's the workflow of like a review page and things like that, but that's not relevant to live. Okay. We've never been in the editing space. And so we're not going to be in the editing space for live either, right? So we're more about the publishing destination. So it's more about hooking up to the OBS, to the Wirecast, to your studio, versus going in that direction at all.
Yeah.
Right? And so accepting that Arcane Key to actually have a place to publish. I know you have your kind of publishing flow as well. Taking the time to walk through the stuff you guys already know.
How are you? Good to see you. Hi, I'm Mark.
Hey, good to see you.
Good to meet you, Mark.
Hi, Phil.
Hey, Phil.
Good to
Nice
see
to
you.
meet you.
What's that?
This is all live?
Are we good?
Everything's live now.
Are you live?
I need to get onto the IC network to have a look.
We had a little surprise to show you.
All right.
But
Are we on the
private.
you can get access?
I think I've got a user and password, but is it IC or IC guest?
IAC
What's the
guest.
Wi-Fi?
For you, IAC guest.
The LTE didn't work.
It seems to be fluctuating a lot.
Okay,
I'm just
it's
walking
okay.
through our
Doesn't
live
matter.
solution.
I'm gonna grab some drink.
You were
all
showing
set?
them a bit
I'm
about
looking
it?
through other.
You mean how do I know Cheddar?
Yeah.
No, part of it was Vimeo, but John's a person I've known for
Okay.
a long time.
Okay.
Since his Google days and even before that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
But he's but one of 1,000 examples of this space, popping and so much happening.
It's changed a lot.
It's
Yeah.
amazing.
Apple, I'm seeing
It's amazing.
Cheddar everywhere.
Yes,
They're
well,
in
that's
Mary
his,
Meeker's report, and I was like, it's
his strategy.
He is everywhere.
He has
Yeah.
named his
Try
strategy.
already
Joey's
and
told
it
you
didn't
this.
work?
I tried with this
Yeah.
user and
Yeah.
password
He's-
on ISC.
This one works.
He refers to it as
Yeah,
neighborhood.
that's something else.
Sorry, I thought you wanted to continue.
Oh, we can. Yeah.
Oh yeah, no, please do. Please do.
Just wait for
The cheddar strategy is called neighborhooding.
Neighborhooding. He
He
just wants to be in every
He wants to
neighborhood.
be right next to where everyone is.
Well, he is. I mean, his brand association with like all these things. It's, I'm like,
restriction
wow,
on.
and this is
I can
Swiss
just
cheese.
restart it, that's
Yeah, sorry.
The question is
Neighborhooding. That's
Yeah.
interesting.
Yeah, he's
the-
everyone's neighbor. He's next
You know what's
to
not cool?
CNBC.
I'll use my
He's
device.
next to the Wall Street Journal. He's next to Apple.
That's fine.
Interesting.
No
Yeah,
questions anyone
but on
watching.
every platform, every place it can be.
I
He's
mean,
also on the new Apple Planet of the App show.
to get on, Phil?
Apple what?
You're planning the
Oh,
app.
really?
Yeah.
Did you get them?
Yeah, but you don't need
It's
to.
connections that go
Okay.
all the way
Yeah.
around.
It's fine. Just continue. Yeah.
Are we actually working?
Yeah.
I'm gonna leave this off. We don't need it.
All right, so I was just walking them through our. I don't know how to get up there, so I gave up. I'm not good at technology.
Thank you very much.
Just walking through our live. This is our Envision. I was hoping that I can get one of our branches up, but I couldn't get that working. So this is essentially the splash pages when you go in, explaining essentially that we're applying what we do on Vimeo to live. Right, we're really more in the publishing space, and we're accepting these kind of RTM keys. And again, this is just a mock. You set up the page. You get your key, you enter it into your client. Hopefully, it's the studio client. You call it Studio HD client. Is that how you refer to it?
The studio. Well, if we do it properly, it won't be a stream key. We'll have a native integration.
Right, where it's just a no-off kind of thing.
Yeah.
And we're doing that as well. So I actually just bought your software, and someone called me the other day. So one of your salespeople was
Oh, cool. Okay, so that worked. Yeah.
Trying to partner.
What is that? That's just customer follow-up? You put purchases into
Yeah, we
queue
can
for-
talk more about how we set up the sales team, but that's just it's just our SDR team calling one of the leads that came in. You probably qualified above the MQL, the minimum MQL score to call
Probably.
you.
And so you create this, you copy this in, right, and then you go live, right, and you have we're actually broadcast hours, not viewers or anything like that. So it's similar actually to what you're doing.
So unlimited on the viewer side, huh?
Well, to an extent, right?
Yeah.
We'll have in good faith,
Yeah.
essentially, same kind of model. So essentially here, you have.
So hopefully, no one's too popular.
Well, if they are, it's great. We're going to have an unlimited.
We'll have a package for that.
Tiers for that. Seriously, right. That's kind of the model there.
Yeah. Fair use policy.
And this is the broadcaster dashboard essentially here, and we're adding a chat side to this as well.
Yeah.
And obviously that's what I'm defining the requirements for as we speak. And this is where they're going to spend their time. And then there's the viewer review, which is and we chat over here on the right side, but the live player, right? And it's just we're not going to have DVR at launch. We're initially launching
Transcoding?
Transcoding, yes, we're doing that, but we're actually using Wowza to begin with.
For every stream that comes in.
We're targeting only a tier, so it's our business, pro and business tier. So we're not going to be launching this to for free. Right?
And so it's going to be a feature in one of your tiers or in the tiers.
It's an additional.
It's an add-on.
It's an add-on for our own business
Yeah,
tiers.
if you have to have a pro or business account first, and then you add this on.
Yeah.
The grid works.
And what's your idea?
Someone has a huge audience, and we're going to
Yeah.
have
Price for ingest hours, but with the same way that we do sort of on core Vimeo, which is unlimited viewing, we still have like small fine print.
Yeah,
If
fair
you're
use,
using,
same thing.
We're using this CDN in some capacity, you can pay it.
And are you going to allow syndication to other destinations? Or?
Not really, because we don't have you can embed the player anywhere, but it's really about the client itself. It's your client that actually would be sending it to other places. It would be, so not at launch. We could. There's some that do it without, but we're not going to be doing that at launch.
Okay. And what's your launch date?
September is the target.
September. Yeah, that's what you had told me.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
It's
it's
exciting.
fairly basic to begin with. We're launching an MVP and then slowly build out, but really focus on the publishing aspect of things.
Yeah. It makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, for Vimeo. Right?
Yeah.
Just the Vimeo.
We've been waiting for you guys.
Well, maybe that's a good segue into hearing about you guys and spending
Sure.
time coming by. I'm going to apologize for Michael and I, by the way, which is I think this might have been on everybody's calendars for an hour and a half. I only have an hour
Okay.
until 10:30, so
Sure.
hopefully that would be enough.
Sure.
My segue into it would only be to add, obviously we are doing these things and trying to figure it out because we think about the Vimeo business as how do we deliver to creators the services they need across all of the things that a modern, video producer, creator, artist, business, etc. needs to deliver.
Yeah.
And this is increasingly one of them. So I'm, curious to sort of hear the story, understand better what you guys are doing, and figure out how we, work together in the whole segment to lift every boat and do great things.
Yeah.
So, we also have VHX as well, right? And
Yeah,
you think about that, and we're doing live with them, and it's really again about the apps there. And then for us, we have VOD. It's all the layers on top of live. That's our value add.
Yeah. And you're launching that simultaneously, the VHX stuff?
Probably a little later.
Goal is to launch simultaneously. I'm not sure what close enough. Say generally in the fourth quarter, by the end of the year for sure.
Okay, and so the VHX team is also working on
Yeah,
some
same
sort of
backend.
it's the same the whole thing is on the same back end. It's the way that you do publishing.
The presentation.
The presentation
Yeah.
for clients to launch the OTT
Yeah.
stream into multiple devices. That's where the difference is.
Got
But
it.
it's the same infrastructure. It's all running the same
Got
system
it.
and all that.
And so, and this is going to bore you, you've heard the story a number of times, but before we start, it'd be helpful if you tell us a little bit how you think about us, because we've obviously met a number of times now. Clearly you're launching a live product. I'd love to hear more about where you're at, if you can share that with our conversations.
Well, I don't know if you mean it sort of like from a
We're
product
thinking-
standpoint, which
No.
I'd let these guys address, or if you mean it from more of a corporate development standpoint, or if you want both, I can
Both?
take one
Both,
and they
yeah.
can do the other. So I'll take it just from the corporate level. I mean, this is a really interesting product category. One of the things I'd like to understand from you guys today, just to put it out there, is the degree to which you're seeing. I know you're doing a bunch of different, you have a bunch of different services, but at the core, it's delivering these live solutions to people that want to pay a subscription fee in order to deliver to an audience. And I'm curious for what's the customer base look like for you? How is it growing? What are the real drivers that you see carrying the business and growth in that core thing going forward? It feels to us like there's a lot of demand there for these services in a very, it's a large market with increasingly an international, not just domestic, but international people demanding these kinds of solutions. And so so at that macro level, very interesting segment with a lot of demand, and we're going to try to figure out how to deliver to Vimeo's growing paying subscription audience these services in the right way. I'd sort of defer to them on what's the right way and how do we partner and which pieces are we going to focus on out of a complicated stack in all of that. But at the corporate level, I mean, just putting it out there, I'm curious for whether or not this is something where we should just be commercial partners. Should we be investors? Should we acquire? How should we think about all the range of opportunities to get into this in a really, robust and interesting way, and learn more about the real, what's really going on in the marketplace and what consumers are demanding than I know at the moment.
Yeah, makes sense.
Okay.
I think I covered it.
And I can go a little deeper on the product side. I mean, when I started investigating live, I looked at all the players in the space and looking at what Vimeo value could bring to, and I really saw us as the kind of more later stage. And frankly, when I looked at the full product suite, I'm with you on your vision around creating just a very simple, easy front-end solution to broadcast live. And that's where I get a little nervous around Vimeo's solution, because we're only doing kind of the latter half. We're not the full end-to-end solution. And if someone's paying a live stream subscription, why are they going to pay for a Vimeo subscription on top, right? But I think we're adding value with all the kind of additional things you get with Vimeo, with our email capture, with our VOD, with our apps on the VHX side. And so I see that the VHX and the live stream and the Vimeo kind of, there's a lot of nice additions that happen with that, right? Because you guys go full even into the hardware side, where that's someplace where we're not equipped to go. We've never done hardware before. We don't have the personnel. And so in building out the software, the downloadable software for that, I think that's it allows that kind of full circle to happen, which I think is really important for users.
Yeah, makes sense. Yeah,
Cool.
makes sense. So should I give a quick background of how we got where we
well,
are.
so I know the background.
Yeah.
I mean, I do know the basic plans. Michael had indicated that you guys might want to do sort of a product demo about
We can.
what is it you're really delivering to the core customer base, and I'd be curious to see that because I haven't played around with the product much.
Yeah.
I'll just go back to what I had said before, which is I'd really love to hear about like who is using the services, where are you seeing growth, where, what is the customer base, and how do you see that playing out over the next X period?
Yeah, and maybe I start with that, and we can get to
Yeah.
the product because it's
Okay.
going to help you understand the thinking behind what you'll see. And we didn't bring the full suite of products because then it looks like a production. Right? So, yeah,
Right.
prepare
Right.
properly. So we started 10 years ago, and the idea was simple. We thought, okay, we're going to, we see this world where every event that's happening anywhere around the world is going to be streamed live online. We talk about TAM. The way we think about the market is, right now, at this moment in time, how many things are happening that have an audience that can attend physically, that have an audience that can't attend physically and would like to see that event. Right? Every city, every town, every government, every high school, every education, every corporate town hall. At this moment, it's millions around the world.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Right now on our platform, we capture 1,000 to 6,000 live events at any moment in time. So the size, the expansion, this is where we see the market heading. And so when we started, the first thing we did is we created this platform. You could sign up, self-service, and you could start broadcasting using your webcam, and it was a nice platform. We launched with the iPhone launch. At the time, we launched our private beta. It was May 2017. And what we saw is that, obviously, we saw a lot of interest to see the live events. So we saw the viewers validating what we had thought. And then what we saw as well was the platform was nice and it was helpful, and definitely the more sophisticated users were able to find a way to broadcast high quality content. But very quickly we identified this need to solve the workflow. Because actually, when you start a conversation with somebody like Cheddar and they've never done live streaming, the first thing they're going to ask you before you talk about recording and DVR and multi-bit rate and OTT distribution, they're going to say, what do I do? Mm-hmm. Right? So you can go, and at first we were explaining, okay, well, go and get this encoder, download it, and set the resolution and frame rate. And quite quickly, as a business, we focused on a little bit controversial back in the days, but the financial crisis happened. We raised 10 million, and we focused on making money because we thought, well, we have to become financially independent. It wasn't obvious.
Has to happen sometime.
2 years into the history of the company, it wasn't obvious back in the days, right? But as we did that, we realized, okay, well, we need, these people have the live stream. The boss is going to see it. They have needs where they can't afford to do it with a phone and for the connection to break in the middle. They can't afford to use a tool they don't understand or is unstable. And actually, as we started offering, rolling out our different tiers of pricing and our support and professional services, we realized a lot of the support calls we would get were about fixing other people's encoders. Mm-hmm. And that was a big problem. And you don't want to explain to somebody in the marketing team at some brand how to set up the H.264 profile the right way or the keyframe interval. And so the first thing we did is we created an encoder. It was a simple piece of software you could download on your computer, and you logged in, and the only thing you saw is a big Go Live red button. Mm-hmm. Okay, that solved the issue of, okay, you have the equipment. Now we solve the basic tool for you to stream out, okay? And then from there on, we obviously did the mobile phone app because that's a good way for people to get started, to do the first couple of tests. And then we built a number of devices. We did the multi-camera switcher, which ultimately every single customer that gets into live streaming wants their content to look like TV, and so at some point they're going to want to get into a more sophisticated type of setup. Remember, live streaming is very different from VOD, right? You have an end-to-end workflow from the event to the distribution that cannot break at any moment. It's a continuous stream. It cannot break at any moment in time. You don't have the luxury of taking 6 cameras with different lenses and then editing and then uploading, right? So we solved that problem of the multi-camera switching, and funny enough, that product is called Studio. And just to tell you how it helps you get into organizations, yesterday I was checking one of our customer groups, and YouTube had their first town hall live, and they used Studio to stream,
Really?
Which is funny. But anyways, that happens, right? People get into town hall, they want it to look great. The CEO says, I want this to look like TV, not a single shot at the back of the room. I want this to look great. I want my town hall to look great. Right. And so we solved that. And ultimately, we progressed, and the industry and the ecosystem progressed, and we got to the point where we were able to really materialize this vision with the camera.
Right.
Which was, we always wanted to come to a point where we could talk to anybody, take Eventbrite, take the next 10,000 events that are happening around here, in a certain distance from here. You start calling them up, you want to be able to say, just buy this $399 device and press start. That's it. That's the first step. That's what you want to be able to say.
Right.
And we got here. This is we launched that device last year. You've seen the sales number. It's been extremely successful, we think, for the first year launch, which validated the need even more. And so where we are as a company, just the quick 5 minutes on how we think about sales and revenue growth. We got to 2014 and we were growing nicely. You have to remember 2014, and I know I was looking for one of your emails yesterday, and I saw that you were involved in the Moreland process, which in 2013.
What process?
Moreland, the bankers.
Oh yes. Yeah.
Tell me about that. I was in London back in the days, but
From the no, I think it was prior to 2013. Might have been 2013.
I don't know. I saw an email by chance, and But anyway, so 2014, you were still going around answering the number one question was, does live really matter? People want to watch on demand whenever they want, right? The new generation, they want to watch whenever they want.
That was the biggest
You would still, that was the biggest hurdle. And I haven't answered that question for the last year and a half or 2 years, right? We haven't been answering that question. Nevertheless, in the end of 2014, we sat with the founders and we're like, okay, we need to grow up as a company. We've been growing really nicely, revenue growth was stable and good, but it was, we thought it was time to professionalize and mature a little bit as an organization and figure out sales, because at the time we got to probably $30 million in revenue with 3 or 4 inbound sales, order takers really, and 0 outbound sales, 0 marketing, 0 marketing budget. This is a business where the phone rings about 30 to 60 times a day. That's the level of inbound. So we were thinking, okay, we need to. So we got a new CEO on board. He got a new head of sales. We built this huge sales machinery. We hired a bunch of people. We hired SDRs and put in place an AE structure with an AM structure. We basically pretended we were Bright Cove, and we weren't. And so we learned.
You did go to market. You had people picking up the phone and calling some mix of, I don't know, small and medium-sized businesses.
Kind of.
Little league proprietors and whatever sales lists you thought would work.
Well, kind of. So we did. That was our market, SMB, and average deal size between probably $3,000 and $10,000.
Right.
Now we got into executive arguments, within the executive team of, we got to raise prices now, because of course you have the machinery, you got to adjust it. We got to raise prices. We got to, so we removed the pricing from our pricing page to get, and remove the option to do self-service, obviously, so it could touch a salesperson. But we did stupid stuff like if you're in Europe today, you're in France, and you press contact us, and you fill in strong intent to buy. You fill in the form. If you're not from an English-speaking country, we're never going to call you. So you can bang your head on the table. We're not going to sell you that enterprise plan. And so that's kind of the mistake we've made in the last 2 years of kind of forgetting who we are, who our market was, and we do get into enterprise. We do get into these idea values. The way we do that is we enter at the low end. We get people to start streaming, and then we have logos like the NBA, like Fidelity, like we had IBM for a while. We have big customers, but it's a bit of a different customer acquisition strategy than what a Brightcove would do.
How many customers do you have, or in rough terms?
Over 10,000.
Okay. And I'm just curious. So you do the sales effort. You're not going. Well, I guess. Paint a picture for me of what it looked like. The self-service base that was coming in, the people that got you to the 30 million in revenue, who were just coming in the front door, were hobbyists. If you think about it in sort of Vimeo parlance, plus users, pro users, business users. What was the mix? And now I'm curious, as it moved into the camera stuff, and the things you're doing now, is it that you see that there is the market segment that you're going after really isn't the prosumer, but it is small and medium-sized businesses, or
it hasn't changed. It hasn't changed.
So
it hasn't changed. So now we've reverted. So just to give you an illustration of how it hasn't changed, we let go 9 salespeople in February, and revenue increased the next month.
Okay.
Right, so it hasn't changed. Our customers are the same customers. We go across the board. Obviously, some of the high-end media we don't touch because they have their own solutions, or they use Brightcoves or MLBAMs. But we go across the board, and the tools help us really get in the door, and they help us convert. I'll give you an example. The studio software and hardware, which I should really show you so you get an idea of what it looks like. We sold about 4,000 units of those, software and hardware. Okay. We sold about 4,000 units. That has generated about $5.5 million of platform sales. And so, taking into consideration our churn and lifetime value, we know that it's going to lead to about 10 million. Those are active cohorts.
So that's
just lifetime value of what you've
hardware,
got.
Of the active cohorts.
Yep.
Yeah. The sale of the hardware has led to $10 million of software.
It will, yes, lifetime value. And so for each customer that we acquire there, we get $2,500 back of platform, right? And that's the way we think about the business. Now, that's the way we think about Mevo as well.
Right.
But we just launched it. So we started shipping it in August. By end of December, we had shipped really a stable firmware where we were comfortable starting to build features. And by February, we started our first efforts to cross-sell our platform. We really wanted to get to a point where we had a very stable product before we started that cross-selling. But we're going to do the same thing. We're going to go into in-app payment, getting people to purchase, to get into a subscription through the tool, and upgrading through that.
And so when you think about who your, the personas of your customer base, how would you describe them? What would you say is the market, and why do you think it's big?
So, again, I don't think it's one persona. There are a number. So for sure, there's the marketing org, right? Somebody using it either for internal or external marketing. That opens up a ton of use cases. It's very broad.
When you say marketing, that means that's an Ford doing an unveil of a car at a car show.
Tesla does. They've been switching between Ustream and us, but
Tesla uses you for their sort of Elon Musk.
They've started with productions and.
But meaning that you think a significant portion of your company base is a marketing executive inside of a small to medium-sized company who's responsible for video production, and that person needs a solution for live events, and that's where the sale is happening for you inside a certain portion of of the customer.
That's a portion.
Okay.
That's a portion.
And that I get.
That's a portion, and it's not necessarily the marketing executive that's responsible for video. It's the marketing executive that's responsible for digital. You know, that's the way that it unfolds.
Let
now.
me ask it a little differently, which is now I don't even want the answer necessarily in specifics, but if you've got 6,000 events on the platform a day, do you tag them and understand I have this much going on in sports, I have this
Yes.
much that was live small business, and so what does that mix look like? You know, is it, or are there, or is it, you know, is it?
I struggle to give you that answer.
Right.
I have to be a little bit guarded because of the
sure.
way that the business overlaps on the platform.
Yeah.
Certainly, if this became a more serious conversation, we'd have to go through sharing this stuff. But at this point,
and by the way, I do get that. I mean,
Yeah,
at the
no,
same
I-
time, it's like I'm trying to think. Well, commercially, what could we do? Is this a thing that's demanded by like action sports people, of which we have, you know,
I can
millions,
tell you,
or is it demanded by, you know, like mom is doing a knitting
and
show
you know
from
what?
her
You-
basement,
you
which is,
sent me that,
you know, not
which I
the
sent you,
same
I
thing.
think I might
But I
have-
do understand.
The TAM
Yeah.
grid you said, maybe
Yeah.
you can just go through that.
yeah. So I was saying, so
Yeah.
marketing executive one, house of worship for sure, it's very big. Sports, huge. So and as we roll out, our distribution strategy, keep in mind we have the tools are one side of what we do. The
Right.
platform is another very important part, which is distribution of your content everywhere, including Facebook, YouTube, Vimeo, hopefully one day, and your website with the white label embed, privacy functionality, so you can do password protected streams and things like that, and your OTT apps. And so that's an avenue we're investing a lot in right now, and we're going to roll out in the next couple of months. So we basically want to help you get wherever your viewers are. Okay, and so for sports, obviously that's huge. Action sports and traditional sports, right? Tata Borduli at the Bulgarian Football Federation has a real problem today. She wants to stream second and third division football, and she has no idea how to do it, right? And she has no idea. On site, she has also no idea how to distribute it, how to have her own apps. She doesn't want to use a Facebook page. Ideally, she'd like to have her own apps. And so that's the way we think about that workflow. So sports, definitely a big one. Like I've said, corporate comms, house of worship, media generally, TV, radio. Radio is huge. Every radio station. We have over 300 local TV news, over 200 local TV news stations in the U.S. that use us.
Right. And that's the one where they rebroadcast.
They're just showing you the boring footage of what's happening inside the broadcast.
Except we help them.
Although, if it's Stern, it's sometimes not so boring.
That's radio. But for local TV, they're rebroadcasting the
TV.
local news.
Except we help them insert midstream ads synchronized with TV, but targeted. TV, radio, newspapers. USA Today, obviously Gannett or Tegna now is.
So why didn't, I'm curious, why didn't the sales force work? Because my instinct would be, oh my God, these are great market segments. Like I should have somebody on the phone calling every single Little League, administrative office or the Little League Association or whatever it is, or I should figure that out, or I should go big over here into, houses. I should call it. Why don't I have a person on the phone calling every church person out there?
Yeah, and so it turns out the first iteration of a Salesforce is apparently a difficult thing to get right. I will tell you my sentiment. We have a bit of a problem in the company that I'd relate to. The curse of natural resources. You've heard that, I'm sure. People use it to explain in economics what happened in Africa. Very fertile ground, very rich countries, and they didn't have to put in place farming and commerce and the hard work that was required to set up the fundamentals of an economy. It's the same for us. When you get, I can show you our Salesforce page right now, and I can tell you the number of leads that are coming in every day. It's just, you're a sales guy, you sit there at your desk, you're gonna pick and choose. You're the SDR, you're gonna disqualify these people. I mean, to the point we're not we're refusing to sell you a product if you're in France,
Right.
just because. And so we've had a bit that issue of we also, you know, us as a founding team, and so we've hired external people, but us as a founding team, we've always been very focused on product market fit, on the product and engineering, and it's. I'm telling you about Studio, for example. Studio software and hardware, different distribution. It's kind of a pro tool, different distribution channel. We have one guy who's in charge of our channel sales. One guy, and it's the first time he's doing it. He's been doing it for 5 years. He's learned really well. But that tells you the sort of infrastructure we have in place and the level of sophistication.
How many employees are there total?
We have now about 180, 190.
180, 190, and how much of that org is just going against some mix of product engineering, you know, and a focus on delivering the service?
Over 50, including operations?
Yeah.
Yeah, 2/3, I would say.
Yeah, I mean, another way to ask it is what percentage is actually going against sort of like marketing and, you know, sales?
Look, marketing and sales it was about 45, now it's down to 32.
Okay,
you know.
and you think you're going to take it smaller from where it is now?
Unless we can partner with the right org.
Right.
It has to be done. The way to grow this company is to turn on the marketing machine and turn on the sales
let's look
machine.
at the product for a minute. The reason I say that is, and maybe while you're looking at it, you know, I think our perspective is that you guys are amongst, if not the best at this, or delivering sort of a solution that is more robust and effective than where anybody else can go. But who is the competition? I mean, who is close to you? Who do you think is delivering the same level of quality or the same thing in a consolidated way?
Yeah, there is nobody that does what we do.
Right.
Really, the end-to-end thing where you can call us and we'll say, hey, we get you set up. No problem. If you want, we'll come and do the production for your first event. Right. For example, the World Economic Forum, we did that. They've been customers for 10 years, literally since the first year we launched, and the first 2 years we did productions for them, and now they've taken it in-house.
Right.
It's just an illustration of how much lifetime value you can generate with
And
that type
by
of
the way,
service.
so what does that customer become in revenues for you a year now? That's an 8-year customer. What are they paying you now?
They pay about, I believe, $40,000 a year. $50,000 a year. Yeah.
By the way, is that sort of the top end?
No, we have bigger deals.
But what would you say is sort of like average and mean and for deal size in the space?
Average, I'd say, average across everything is probably 4,000.
Okay.
Based on just 10,000 customers in revenue, basically about 4 or 5,000.
Right.
Sort of in
Okay.
that, like so we thought it's
Right.
in that sort of sweet spot of being transactional enough. You don't need to hire.
We're a platform, right? That's what we were.
Right.
And we saw very quickly that we were going to be a checkbox in the tools.
Right.
One of the, in the drop down, we were going to be one of them.
Right.
And that just is very difficult to defend.
Right. I mean, I would say the other thing, though, just as a layer, is now there's mobile apps and like you have the ones that are self-contained, the Periscopes, even Facebook.
Like a $40 million revenue run rate or a $40 million business?
No, actually, you saw Q1, I guess, but
I'm not sure. I don't recall.
No, you know, run rate. It's difficult to say. We're making a lot of changes, but run rate. It's probably going to be north of 50 at least north of 50.
Okay.
It's purely based on renewals.
16 was what 35.
16 was 44, the
44,
total
right.
business.
44,
In
right.
bookings, 40 and 40 in Gap. Yeah.
Okay.
The year before, we had we sold one of the assets. You know, we sold a separate business that I developed in Europe for 3 years. That was outside of our core business. That brought in capital.
Sorry, but meaning, so you're operating at a loss, but
we're operating at a loss, but what I mean is it's not been traditionally the way. We've always operated a little bit at a loss, but controlled loss. We've been growing through our revenue.
Okay. The employees are where?
So we have 20 people here.
Right.
We have about 40 people in India, and we have about another in Ukraine, in Zaporizhia.
Right.
So we have quite a lot of.
And do you think you want to be profitable soon, or how do you think about that right now?
Yeah,
Do you
that's
think you